Yo, welcome back to Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, JB. Joining me as always, Devontae Forever. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, Jay? What's going on with you?
Ain't nothing, man. Lots of NFL action to talk about, man. Lots of stuff going on. Quarterbacks are dropping like flies, apparently, you know what I mean? But as always, appreciate the love and support. Let's not waste any time, man. Yo, Devontae, what's your thoughts on the NFL season so far, man?
It's the weirdest season of the NFL I've ever seen. Like, quarterbacks are dropping like flies. You're seeing a lot of great players dropping out like flies. You're seeing teams lose to teams who really aren't like that. You're seeing some of the top teams lose to real garbage teams. This is probably, I would say, in real way to wrap it up. Honestly, I would say this is one of the strangest seasons I've ever seen.
Yeah, to be completely honest, I completely agree. Like, literally, quarterbacks dropping now. Justin Herbert's out for the rest of the year. Hope he heals up with his hand. Steelers last week lost to the Patriots, which is ridiculous. Mike Tomlin gonna have to answer for that. I know I'm a big fan of Coach T, just like you, just like the rest of Steelers fans and everybody else. But Mike Tomlin gonna have to answer for that. The Packers, who not a great team, but they just lost to the Giants last night. You know what I mean? Like, the Titans beat the Dolphins. So, like you said, this has been one of the more odd years. The only team I can say that's really been consistently rolling all year, to be honest, is probably Baltimore. Because even San Fran had that 3-game dip, you know what I mean, where they played, health and stuff and factors into it. But, But, yo, man, it's going to be a short show today. We're going to talk about just some of the headlines. But first, I want you to tell me what's your thoughts on these Steelers, man. They lost to the Cardinals, and then they lost to the New England Patriots, who seem to be, maybe not like officially, but they seem to be, if not the worst, one of the worst teams in the NFL. So what's your thoughts on the Steelers right now? They are still primed for a playoff spot, but, you drop games to Pittsburgh. That's not a good look.
I'm going to say this now, so it's not a surprise. Don't be surprised next week when you ask me, what's your thoughts on this game? And I tell you on Saturday that I didn't watch it because they are on a 1-week suspension from my eyes on the game. They are on a 1-week suspension because losing to the Cardinals made me angry enough because Mr. Trubisky was playing like garbage. Okay, losing to the Cardinals pissed me off enough. He played like hot trash against the Patriots. Yes, the defense gave up 21 points in the first half. Yeah. We shut them out completely in the second half. I think Zeke had like 40 yards until like the end of the fourth quarter. We were cooking them. It should make no sense. And I was like, all right, this game's going to come down to a turnover. We got the only turnover of the game, and we still lost. It was exactly how we lost to the Cleveland Browns. But this time, and I'm going to tell you exactly my frustration. I'm going to tell you exactly why I gave up and was like, I can't watch them for a week because this is disgusting. We get into the red zone. It's like 21-18. We're literally we're like 11 yards out into the red zone. It's like it is 3rd and 2. First thing you do is you run a flip pass to Jaylen Warren. You catch the ball and you flip it on 3rd and 2. On 3rd and 2. And then on 4th and 2, when we didn't get that at all, on 4th and 2, you don't run for the second down. You don't run for the first down. You don't throw to the sticks. You don't even throw to the flat. He overthrows a go route, not to George Pickens, to Deontay Johnson. You overthrow a go route, and we lose. That is the worst 4th down decision I've seen in a very long time. You don't get to this. You don't. And I love Mike Tomlin, but that was the first week I seen where I was like, damn, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to fire Mike Tomlin, and I can't say nothing about it because I can't defend that. I can't defend it. I don't care that Kenny Pickett wasn't playing. I can't defend that loss. He threw a go route. Mr. Trubisky should not have a job next year in Pittsburgh because of that stupid decision. That shows you are not a quarterback for the future. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
So, obviously, I agree with the majority of stuff you said. I'm starting to think one of Coach Tomlin, he has a lot of positives, of course, right? lots of positives. But I'm starting to think one of his negatives is he's kind of bought into the whole Steelers. We don't fire coaches. We don't that loyalty, right?
And
And
loyalty is loyalty to a fault.
I think it's starting to become loyal to a fault, like you said, right? Mike Tomlin had no business. I can make the case he had no business picking Matt Canada in the first place, but that's hindsight, fine. Because if Matt Canada turned out to be like a all-star coach type level, fine. But he held on to him for far too long. We both know he held on to Big Ben Roethlisberger for far too long. You know what I mean? So that might be his fatal flaw. He's loyal to a fault, right? He kind of appeased the whole situation with Antonio Brown for far too long. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff that we can now look back on, of course, with the privilege of hindsight and say that he kind of dropped the ball on. Still a great coach, still can coach probably in 30 other places. You know what I mean? Right now and get the job and kick the incumbent out. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised, man. Look, we talked about this all year. I think the Steelers have the potential to have an all-world defense. And I think the offense is not good. But the fact that they did win some of those early games that I expected them to lose, you know what I mean? Beat Baltimore already, beat Cincinnati, beat Cleveland. So right now, at worst, you're splitting the division. You know what I mean? At worst, you're going to split the entire division at worst. That's what bothers me right now about what's occurring right now. You know what I'm saying? Is the fact that you got off to that start, and now let's say hypothetically, I said this is going to be the year, potentially, all right, where Mike Tomlin had a losing record, right? Because as we know, there's no longer 8-8. You're either 9, you know what I mean? You're either 9-8 or you're 8-9, right? So I thought this was going to be the year, and then they jumped out to that goddamn. They won some of these games. I thought they was going to lose to Cleveland that Monday night game that was super sloppy, and they lost it. I mean, and they won it. I was like, okay, this maybe not right. They're going to make the playoffs, and then they lost to Arizona. I was like, okay, trap game. Kyle, I wasn't tripping on it. Murray's back. Okay, I'm not tripping on that. It's the New England game. When I saw they lost to New England, I went back and watched the game and saw how the game unfolded. I said, kind of similar to what you're saying. I was like, I don't know if it's going to be fired, but I think Pittsburgh might need to start looking for a new coach. Not necessarily fire him. I think Mike Tomlin would be better. I still say he'll be better off with a fresh start. But now I'm starting to look like all those people who said he should be fired, as in like he's not good. I still don't agree with that. But like you said, it's becoming hard to defend because clearly he's not an offensive mind. We know that. But he can't find the right pieces, you know what I mean, to get the offense going. Like
it's because they're so stubborn. The Steelers are the most stubborn organization. One of the most stubborn. I think the Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Las Vegas Raiders are the three most stubborn teams in the NFL. They're the only franchises that refuse to grow with the times. And one of the things the Steelers only reason why I'm like we shouldn't fire Mike Tomlin is because if you notice, every single coach we've ever had has been a defensive coach.
Right.
And one of the reasons why we never talk about in the Big Ben AB area when the Steelers actually tried to grow and be an offensive-minded team, our defense was hot trash. Like our quarterbacks was getting smoked. We was scoring 30, but we was giving up 30 at the same time.
Right.
And then so they tried to revert back to the old Steeler way, which the defense is clearly there. The defense is clearly there. I think we see that. It's the offense, it's the quarterback position. This is the first time we got to see Mike Tomlin with a rookie quarterback because Bill Cowher gave him the whole game plan after he left. He gave him, he had all the great vets in Lamar, Woodley, Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu and them. And then he had a young Ben who went 15-1 in his rookie season. So now he had all the pieces. This is the first time where I'm like, all right, let me see what you see in the quarterback. And the only thing Kenny Pickett has is he's clutch in the moments he has to be, but he's terrible 1 through 3. So like, I think like, for example, like I look at this and like the way I look at this, if you give me Justin Fields, you give me Kirk Cousins, hell, Jason, if you give me Ben Roethlisberger right now, I guarantee you we're at least 8-4, or excuse me, 9-4, or whatever it is.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Right, and they did drop the last 2 games, so obviously it looks a lot worse than it should right now. You know what I mean? They dropped the last 2 games, but they're still sitting in that 6th spot, which is crazy to say. I'm gonna get to this comment from Nate. Nate was good, bro. Hope all's well. He said Baltimore is playing around beginning of the year, should easily be undefeated. And then when it comes to the Steelers, he says they need another O-line, some veteran leadership in offense. I mean, on offense, I'm sorry, and a QB. Fire the GM and Justin Fields on the Steelers. I'm crying. They would be legit.
They would be disgusting. Like, bro, what? Like, and that's the part that, like, that's why I pray to God the Bears are going to be the dumbest team in the NFL and they just let him walk. I swear they better jump on it like no tomorrow.
They're going to
like, it's so, I will cry my eyes out if I get Justin Fields. I'll be so happy.
So let me spoil this for you right now. Let me tell you right now, and I'm not even saying this hype here. Justin Fields is going to end up getting traded to the Raiders, right? Now, I'm not saying that hype because I don't believe the Raiders know what to do with him. You see what I'm saying? He's going to get traded to the Raiders, and I don't think that's a good thing for Justin. Yes, he'll have Jacobs, he'll have Devontae Adams, he'll have a decent line, and the defense is playing a lot better than I thought they would, right? But it's like, again, Antonio Pierce will see, but right now they don't have the coaching. You know what I mean? So they don't quite know, you know what I mean, what to do with him. But think about it. As we lost Devontae, I'm sure he'll be back. But what I'm saying is, think about it. Justin Fields is super fast, but you know the Raiders love. He's young, so obviously you don't have to go out and sign some veteran. And he's a flashy quarterback, but he needs development, and that's something the Raiders can't give him. So that's what they're going to do. Nate, I do have a feeling, like you said, Nate, that Fields is not going nowhere. Now, I think that's the smart move for the Bears not to trade him, if we're being completely honest, that the Bears shouldn't get rid of him, but I think they will, especially if they're sitting on that number 1 draft pick, even though they keep winning. So I don't quite know exactly how that goes. But yeah, man, I'll kick it over to Baltimore for a second just because we're waiting for Devontae to get back. Some technical difficulties. But yeah, Baltimore right now, man, it's like they're like that sleeping lion right now, right? I know they're technically in the 1 seed, so how can they be a sleeping lion? But they're kind of just chilling, you know what I mean? Let's see. Nato said Ryan Poles would get fired if he restarted. But if Caleb Williams is that good, like everybody's saying, and they do get that 1 spot, you know what I mean? I guess, would that be an upgrade? I don't know. Williams looks good. He looks really good, actually. But how does, the way people transition to the NFL is a whole different ball game. And that's what's kind of scary, to be honest with that. But Baltimore right now scares me in the sense of, I feel like when I watch him play, see, yeah, he looked great in this past year in college. Look, I'm not saying he looks like how he did the year before, but you know what, the talent is there. The talent is there. This year in the NFL has just been weird, though, man. Like last night, Packers, few weeks ago, they beat the Chiefs. Controversial call. Jordan Love looks like he's getting there, right? Matt LaFleur looks like he's coaching well. Then last night they go out and they lose to the Giants, and it's like, what the hell happened? Like the Dolphins, they lose to the Titans. Now I've been saying on this show that I like Will Levis probably more than most. I think he has potential to be good, but they shouldn't beat the Dolphins. They should not beat the Dolphins at all. That contributes to the weirdness. Chiefs don't look that good in terms of the offense, receivers dropping the ball. We'll get to that when Devontae gets back with Kadarius Toney lining up off sides. Mahomes is slamming his helmet. It's all types of stuff going on in the league right now. The Raiders and Vikings, 3-0. Like, let's see. Craziest year I've seen, I think. God only knows how it's all going. Yo, Tommy, I'm with you. It's a bizarre year, man. And it would be the bizarre year that Dallas seems to be rolling right now, which is crazy. They said, but Baltimore can finally score points in a flurry. They have a vertical pass game, and if Lamar is a little better, it would be insane. I thought Packers were going to win. The Dolphins are fraud. Will Levis and Pitbull. Yeah, look, the Ravens are tricky in the sense that sometimes I watch them play and I think, I'm like, yo, this team looks dominant, right? Even if it's a close game, like this team should win the Super Bowl easily the way the year's going. Then sometimes I watch them play and I'm like, yo, so many miscues, so many drops, stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like it's look, speaking to Tommy's point, the Bills, it'd be crazy if the Bills win it. As we bring Devontae back in. Welcome back.
Sorry, I had technical difficulty. Sorry about that.
Now you good. But just right now we're just talking about like how bizarre of a year it's been. The Bills lost a few games in a row, and then they dropped. Basically, it looked like the Bills were gonna miss the playoffs. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. Looked like the Bills were gonna miss the playoffs. They lost that heartbreaker to Philly that they should have won because they was smacking Philly, and then now they won a few games in a row, and now they look. I mean, they still got to play their way back in, but they look strong. I'm talking about Devontae, how Baltimore right now, you watch them play, they look dominant, right? At the same time, you watch them play, and it's like, the fuck, like the fumbles, the drops, the miscues. It's like, who's going to be that first team to put it all together, right? We've seen Dallas get manhandled by San Fran, and then since then, they've looked great. We've seen Philly look great, even though they played some sloppy close games. It's like we've seen the Chiefs look good, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs, they can't catch the ball. Kadarius Toney lines up offside. There's a bunch of stuff going on right now in the league. The Chargers, who again have one of the best rosters in the league, they weren't going to make the playoffs before Herbert got hurt. So, like, you know what I'm saying? The Ravens and the Raiders, and Vikings played to 3-0. Like, it's a bizarre year in the NFL, man. Super bizarre year. Said the big comeback story. Look, we both had the Bills making the playoffs, right?
Yes.
You had them winning the division.
Yep.
And they still got to play Miami. So they need to find one game for them to win and Miami to lose, and then they need to beat the Dolphins and they can win the division. Especially thanks to the Dolphins losing last night, which they shouldn't have lost, which is crazy. You know what I mean? The Bills might end up winning the division again, and that's all because Miami is another team that can't seem to put it together. If Tyreek don't go for $150 in 3 quarters, it seems like Miami can't win the damn game. You got a pick 6 by a defensive lineman, which we know is rare, and you still lose the game. Insane. Tommy said, yeah, bro, you think the Ravens going to run the loop? They fall apart and the Giants and Patriots look good that week.
I got the Ravens.
Said Fins don't win in December. Look, the Dolphins. Devontae, real quick, what's your thoughts on the Dolphins?
They're very much if Tyreek don't produce, we don't produce. And that's what I've kind of disguised Tua as a quarterback. Like, he's literally just like, I don't care what it is, I'm throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill. Period, point blank. And I think that's why Tyreek Hill is going to probably be a runner-up, if not offensive player of the year, because he's literally just throwing the ball to Tua. But the thing about that is that only goes so far. When Tua hurt his ankle, you saw how different the offense looks. Because as good as Jalen Waddle is, as good as Devon Achane is at speed, they're not powerful. They don't really have a power on their team at all. And that's the thing when you got a team that can punch you right back and are very physical and tough, like the Titans with Derrick Henry and that's things of that nature. They're very tough. And one of the things that the defense is good in certain spots. They're very sneakily underrated in certain spots, but they also are overrated. Like, we all know Xavier Howard is a decent cornerback, but he's getting old. Yes. And I don't know how we all forgot, but like DeAndre Hopkins is one of them dudes. Like, I don't know why, like, people forget in a matter of seconds he can go get 6 catches for $185 and 2 touchdowns in a blink of an eye. Yep. And I think, like, did we expect the Dolphins to win this game? Duh, of course. But the Dolphins haven't really beat anybody who's a good team all year. It's not a surprise that they lost. It's a surprise that they lost the game because the Titans aren't good. But they haven't beat a good team. They haven't beat anybody who was on their level or who had a winning record at all.
Right. Look, man, I think the Dolphins right now, are in dangerous territory of being that team that is like, look, Remember how in the Derek Carr era with the Raiders will start out 3-0, then they'll drop to like 3-2, and then they'll win some. They'll be 5-2, technically a game behind Kansas City, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, here comes the Raiders," and I'm always the one like, "Relax," like, you know what I mean? They're not there yet. It looks getting better, but they're not there yet. The Dolphins are in danger of becoming that team, right? Every year, there's always something, right? This is the year. Tua's not hurt. He's playing well, pretty well. You know what I mean? He's not. He's been healthy, and yet they're still not finding a way. Tyreek is on the pace for 2,000 yards, and now all of a sudden, Jalen Ramsey's back healthy. It's just they can't always seem to put it together. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, this is that one weird year where things could possibly get better when talking about the Dolphins. You know what I mean? So Buffalo, they still got a 2-game, even with the loss, they got a 2-game lead on Buffalo, which is crazy. You know what I mean? We didn't. I picked the Dolphins to win the division, but not like that. You know what I mean? Not like that. I think Miami has a legit shot to keep on with the division. I think they'll be the 2 seed because I think the Chiefs are on the downhill slide. That's not saying the Chiefs are going to win a playoff game or nothing, but I think the Chiefs. We'll get to the Chiefs in a second, but yeah, man, I think it's just been a weird year. Speaking of weird year, and Devontae, I said this when you had your technical difficulty, all this stuff going on in the league, right? Super weird year and everything. This would be the one year where Dallas starts rolling, right? In the year that we're all going to forget, and we're all going to look back at this year. This was that crazy ass year where everything went wrong, right? Speaking of things going wrong, Dallas Cowboys beat up on the Eagles in their second matchup this year. They officially split. Technically, due to tiebreakers right now, Dallas is they're actually ahead in the NFC East for the first time all year, technically. What's your thoughts on that game, and what does this change how you see the NFC East shaking up?
Does it change how I see the NFC East shaking up? No. Does this surprise me that they beat the Eagles? No, because well, one, did I personally think they're going to beat the Eagles? No, but am I surprised that they beat the Eagles? No.
Why?
Because they finally one moment they actually played to their potential. They finally beat a good team for once. It's about damn time. It's about time Dak showed up against a good team.
They beat them up too. Like
exactly,
they beat them up.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like they finally showed up against a good team. They played a team who is also they got basically the Niners said it themselves. They had the formula. They gave them the formula on how to beat the Eagles. And when you look at the Cowboys, I still don't see nothing special about them to win. But you can't lie to say that like Dak Prescott's playing MVP caliber football. I would argue that he wasn't playing against nobody good. But until this weekend when he showed up and he showed out. Now, I look at Dallas. But the thing about Dallas, that's why it's not like I'm not like I can't believe this or I'm surprised, is because to me it's never about the regular season with Dallas. It's what they do when January hits. Because every time January hits, they have a big thing to choke. They have a big case to choke. So like them winning this game to me was like how when they beat the Eagles last year. I was like, okay, cool. What does this mean? What does this mean? It's cool if they win the NFC East, but if you still lose in the first round, bro, what you want me to do with that?
Okay. So I think this is slightly different because when they beat Philly last year, remember that was Gardner Minshew they beat. And he is a good backup. Like I would take Gardner Minshew as a starter right now
in a heartbeat.
I think we both would. You know what I mean? We take Gardner Minshew right now, and he's playing good for the Colts too.
We got to play him this week,
right? So I would take him. So I'm not saying he's bad, but what I'm saying is that's not Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Yesterday they beat up on Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, on Sunday they beat up on Jalen Hurts. I'm not surprised because I picked Philly and Dallas to split regardless. I didn't care who won which game. I picked them to split regardless. Obviously, we know I'm waiting on JR and Brady to show up because I did pick Dallas to win the division. I just thought it'd be that year. I didn't, which makes sense as to why it's a weird year now, right? Because I actually picked Dallas to win the division. They look good, man. Ever since they got smacked by the Niners, You know what I mean? Their defense has been the same as been all year, to be honest. But Dak Prescott's been so patient. All right, I'm dropping back. Okay, he's not open. He's not open. Okay, here's the little check down. Where before he wanted to try to make things happen. He's scrambling out the pocket. First time we've seen that since he got hurt. This is the stuff we needed to see from Dak Prescott, right? Now, if they put him in the top 10 list, 8, 9, 10, 7, I'm cool with it for this year. You know what I mean? Because he's playing up. Hell, for this year, if you want to put him in top 5 because Burrow's hurt, Herbert's hurt, and all that, I'm cool with that too. I don't care because he's actually playing to his potential. Like you said, he's an MVP candidate, rightfully so. I still think it should go to Tyreek Hill, but we both know it's not. So right now, it's seeming like it's coming down to Prescott and Purdy. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. Like, it's a quarterback award. They're going to give it to a quarterback. This would be the year they don't, because Mahomes is not in the MVP discussion, but that's a whole separate thing. But Dallas is playing well. I'm not going to talk about their schedule and who they played because Philly, they play the same divisions. So, you know what I mean? And both of them had cupcake division. Both of their schedules was harder last year, even though it wasn't necessarily hard last year either. Still not out the weeds right now. They still got to play. They play Buffalo, who's on a hot streak themselves. That's going to be an interesting game. If Dallas can win the division, right, and which I got them as being the 2 seed, right, because I don't think San Fran's going to lose the rest of the year. So I'd have them as a 2 seed. Then they'd probably take your pick. The Bucks, though they could draw the Falcons, they could draw the Vikings in that first playoff game. I think we both say they'll beat them, right? So then in that second round, we're looking at possibly the Saints or Lions, because if they're the 2 seed, as you know, they will avoid the Niners until that next round. So now we're looking at Detroit, Philly, maybe the Saints. This is why it's. Although I'm right, I will say it is an odd year. You know what I mean? Because right now, the 49ers in Dallas look dominant. And I don't think either one of them is actually that dominant. I just think it's a down year, to be honest. But, yeah, interesting. See what the chat says. Tommy said, did not see that coming. And them division games are rough. They are rough, man. Beating the team twice is not easy. It's not easy at all. But, yeah, it's been a really odd year when it comes to that. But Devontae, I want to kick this over to obviously the controversy from Sunday. Kansas City lost to Buffalo. As we know, there was a spectacular play where Mahomes dropped back. He threw a crossing route to Kelsey. Kelsey ran up the field, lateraled it to Kadarius Toney, scored a touchdown. Would have been a incredible play, right? Flag on the play, offensive offsides on Kadarius Toney, who lined up not even in the neutral zone, beyond the neutral zone, if we're being honest. Mahomes is slamming his helmet. He's cursing out the refs. He did apologize already. But Andy Reid, after the game, had some comments for the league saying it's embarrassing. Mahomes is like, you can't take these moments away from us, like blah, blah, blah. Does Kansas City have a legit beef with the refs on that offensive offsides?
All right, so if you're asking me what I would have called it, no, I would not have called offensive offsides. Do I think the Chiefs have a legit beef with the refs? No. Do I think this is the worst officiating in a year I've ever seen? Yes, I will tell you that right now. Like the way we talked about how the playoffs were last year, we were like, yo, this officiating is hot garbage. When they remember last year against the Bills game, they did a redo, and we're like, what the hell is a redo? Right. So like, and then like that just transcended on to this season because I've seen some of the most bogus calls I've ever seen. Jay, the other day they called a false start on the long snapper.
Yeah, I saw that.
For putting his head up like this in the middle of my game. What center you don't know does that? What long snapper you don't see look to see where the ball? How? Like they've called some of the think about all the fines that have been rescinded this year because of like a running back coming up and just hitting a linebacker head on. Fine for that. They've been fining people left and right for some of these bogus calls. Pass interferences have been a little sketchy. There's been a lot of different calls that have been absolutely insane. Like the fact that, I'm sorry, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa don't get holding calls.
Right.
Word? These are three of the best defense. These are 3 of the best defensive ends in the game, and they're not getting. And they're complaining about holding calls when they're really been held. We talk about the Eagles. Talk about Lane Johnson. You know how many times you watched Lane Johnson false start, jump dumb early before the ball snapped? This is like, so I think this adds to the list of Chiefs problems, but do I think the Chiefs are really out to get Patrick Mahomes? Are you kidding me? It's Patrick Mahomes. Like, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, bro, you literally are the face of the league. What are you talking about? Like, they're out to get us. Yeah, all right.
Tommy said if it wasn't the guy involved in the play, I could see a no call. He was way over and ref threw the flag before the ball was even thrown. Look, man. Everybody always thinks because I'm obviously a big fan of the Raiders that I hate the Chiefs, right? I don't hate the Chiefs. Like Devontae knows, I don't subscribe to the whole, oh, I hate this team and every player on it just because they're on that. Like, I obviously, do I want the Chiefs to lose if it will benefit the Raiders? Of course, right? Of course. But at the same time, I don't just hate Patrick Mahomes. I like Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce, I love him. And I've always thought Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame coach even before he even got to Kansas City. But it's laughable to me. Kadarius Toney is a knucklehead. We know he's a knucklehead. That's why he left the Giants, right? But Kadarius Toney was so far off sides in the neutral zone. It's laughable. It's laughable. And like Tommy said, they literally threw the flag before. As soon as they snapped the ball, they threw the flag. As soon as they snapped the ball, you saw the flag on the screen go up in the air. They didn't throw it because, Kelce threw the ball back to Toney, he scored. That's not how that worked. The flag was already thrown. If you could say it doesn't impact the play, fine. But ever since Pop Warner, you teach the kids to line up, right? And you teach the kids, if you're in trips, the man who's on the line, you have to always check to make sure that you're lined up correctly. If you're on the outside, it's easier because you can ask the ref. But when you're inside, it's like, how do you expect the refs to stop the game or yell, hey, Kadarius Toney, back up? No. That's reserved for the outside receivers when they're close to the ref. So for Andy Reid to say we should have received a warning, come on, man. That's what bothers me the most. It's like, for such a veteran coach and veteran quarterback to complain like that, let's go back to the Super Bowl. Darius Slay literally tugs the guy's jersey like that. That could have resulted in a warning, but instead they called the flag that gave the Chiefs virtually the Super Bowl victory. Philly would have got the ball back with a chance to either tie or win the game. Chiefs won. So it's like, there literally was a thing going on where it was like, for whenever it was a Chiefs game and Mahomes had the ball, there was a thing called third and holding. Because if the Chiefs didn't complete the pass for a first down, you knew the holding flag was coming. So it's like there's 2 players that I could think of in recent history that I don't want to ever see complain about a call. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, because they seem to benefit from so many calls. The Bengals game, for the Chiefs to even go to Super Bowl, was it a late hit out of bounds? Yeah. Was it egregious? No, it wasn't egregious at all. That's why I'm like, Patrick Mahomes, he's slamming his helmet. He's frustrated because right now they have 5 losses. That's why he's frustrated. They have 5 losses, and now they're probably going to have to go on the road for the playoffs. And we've never seen these versions of the Chiefs go on the road in the playoffs. That's why he's nervous. Right. He was 4 feet this year next to it. Absolutely. Like, Patrick Mahomes is frustrated with his receivers. They're dropping passes everywhere. And that's fine. That's completely normal. But at the same time, it's like, get over it, Get over it. Devontae, are you still with us?
Yeah, man.
All right. So yeah, just making sure. But yeah, man, talking about these Patrick Mahomes, I'm like, the Super Bowl, Darius Slay, was that holding egregious? That basically allowed the Chiefs to take the knee? No. They could have let that go. Against Cincinnati, the push out of bounds, which again gave the Chiefs an extra 15 yards to actually kick the field goal to avoid overtime. Was that egregious? No, but they gave it to the Chiefs anyway. so they can let this one go. I know Mahomes apologized today and kind of walked it back. Fine, but at the same time, I thought it was crap, man.
I just think the NFL officiating they need to have a meeting or something like that this offseason as a whole. But do I think the refs have something against like any type of team or player?
No.
Hell no.
No.
But like the officiating has been absolute garbage. That I will say as a whole.
It's been bad for years. That's my point. Going back to Brady on the Patriots, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but like I think like this is one of like some like I've seen some very strange calls. Like what? Like I've seen some calls.
Right.
I'm like, bro, what are we talking about? Like,
so it is important to note that offensive offsides has gone up each year. This year they said it was a point of emphasis. They've sent a memo out to all the teams. We're calling it this year. Lineup offsides. Chiefs got burned. Like I said, the Raiders played the Bills week 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders had a touchdown to Devontae Adams, but it was called back because Hunter Renfrow was offsides, lined up in the neutral zone. He ended up getting benched, but that's a Josh McDaniels problem, right? It got swept under the rug because the Raiders lost 38-10. So it's like it's not really a big deal, but that just shows you they've called it this year over and over. You know what I mean? I think they said it's been called like 16 times this year versus 4 last year and 0 the year before. Just like we see, pass interference this year is more of a point of emphasis, right? You can't land on the quarterback. That's a point of emphasis. It happens. Every team knows that. Andy Reid, who I always come on this show and say is an offensive genius, what I always call him, the best offensive play caller of all time. Your receiver didn't line up right. That's a you problem and that's a him problem.
But also, when you say that's also the blame to the ref, because when a receiver lines up, 9 times 10, he looks at the ref and says, "Am I good?" And if a ref doesn't say nothing, like what you mean?
It's not on the ref because in this case, the Chiefs were in tight trips. So Kadarius Toney is usually standing maybe 3 yards away from where a tight end would be, right? And because he's the up man, yes, could he look to the sideline to check, right? And the ref, usually when it's that far, the ref will either try to yell or he'll give the thumbs up or the thumbs down, right? If you go back and watch the clip, Kadarius Toney, he never even checked. He probably didn't think he would have to because he is the up man. But it's like, bro, the sad part is, let's say if he would have checked with the sideline, right, Devontae? If you notice, that would have been the Chiefs sideline that ref would be near. So they could have literally yelled to him, Toney, back up. Kadarius, back up. Because coaches, they usually stand at the line of scrimmage.
Of course.
So Andy Reid could have saw it and told him to back up. But that's not the ref's job. You have to check with the ref. Kadarius Toney never even looked that way. He was looking for the ball to get snapped because we know that's how receivers go when the ball is snapped. I'm with you on the officiating. I've been on it for years, but it's been consistently bad for about five years now. And the Chiefs have capitalized on it way too many times for me to feel bad.
I don't feel bad for the Chiefs. That's why I'm saying at the end of the season, you're like, yo, this is bro. Because like I said, they were giving out fines like no tomorrow, and then having them all and they're losing on a lot of appeals because some of these calls have been absolutely trash. That's right. What I'm saying. By this offseason, they need to have a conversation.
See, my only is like I've been saying I think Sky Judge is a good thing. The cameras in the sky where the league office can kind of assist from the game. Here's the problem with that, and and I know they hold on every play. Defenses hold on every play. Offensive line holds on every play. So something like Sky Judge, there'll be a flag on every play. So we do still need that human discretion. But here's my point. My only problem with this is Kadarius Toney's a known knucklehead who messes up all the time. You know what I mean? He doesn't check to make sure he's on fly. He's on the right side. The Chiefs coaches don't scream to him to back up. I'm not going to put that on Mahomes because it's kind of hard for him to see. The center snapping the ball, he can see as he looks down the line, as centers always do. Travis Kelce was on the line on the other side. He could have, said back up. Nobody thought to. So like, and this is not just like, it's the same thing with Brady when he's always complained about getting hit, and now he wants to say the game is soft. Like, you use it to your benefit. What I always say about the Chiefs, Devontae, when it's third down, here comes the holding call. Because it's like, it's either Mahomes completes it for the first down or it's a holding call. That's why I found it so ironic that they're the ones complaining about officiating.
But I think what's different is like they're not the only team who's complained about it. I think it's just he's just the only person who had an outburst about it. Which is, his outburst was stupid. Like, don't get me wrong,
his outburst is because his receivers are garbage right now.
Absolutely,
that's what it is.
Absolutely, that's like I ain't arguing that. Like absolutely. But like, do I think like, oh, this is just another? Do I think this is going to be something that because it's Patrick Mahomes, they are gonna have that conversation I'm telling them to have? Absolutely, because they're gonna be like, all right, when you got the face of the league losing his mind, it ain't a good look. But like, I think that's the reason why they're gonna have the conversation at the end of the day. But do I think that like they were out to get the Chiefs or to Patrick Mahomes as some archetype villain in the NFL? Hail to the no.
Right. All right, man. So yeah, man. Yo, so check, make sure. So, that's all we got for this week's show. We'll be back next week, regular time, Tuesday, 7:05. Appreciate y'all sticking with us through some of the technical difficulties, the late start, trying to get everything back going. But as always, I'm JB. Devontae, let them know where they can find you.
Devontae forever on everything. Sorry about the minor inconveniences with technological stuff. And Jay, thank you again for having me.
No doubt. We'll catch y'all next week. We out. Peace.
Peace.